I've worked with Clint Eastwood twice. He's that way. Billy Bob Thornton is another guy I've collaborated with. He's that way.
Yeah.
There's just something about it because it's a respect of I'm prepared.
I'm prepared, and this is not only my time, but it's your time.
Yeah, and we got to go. And
Yeah.
you've hired me, and I get it. I've also endured, I don't really know if I feel comfortable. I've also been around and been on sets where great big name actors have deliberately sabotaged the shooting schedule, either inadvertently or purposely. But they have definitely taken steps to slow down production because of their own vanity and process.
Right.
And that's much with some of the older actors that come from that period of I don't want to give up real estate to a certain individual, and I want to dominate this character, and it's the character, and it's not me, it's this, and I don't like this blocking, and it's all that kind of shit. You go like, oh boy.
And you kind of have to suck it up and just go.
I don't think there's time for that now in this day and age. I mean, you work all the time now.
Yeah.
I think people hire you, they come in and they expect you to do your job.
Yeah.
I mean, when I work with Clint Eastwood on Flags of Our Fathers, he hired me.
I loved Clint. I worked with Clint.
He's a great. What did you do?
I did this movie called Midnight in the Garden, Good and Evil. I had one big scene in the courtroom.
That's great.
Yeah, I loved him. He was like,
that was a great movie.
He was the best director in terms of just like, he would just do your thing, shoot it, and then he'd go, that was great. Just on this take, just acknowledge the jury. That's all I need you to do. I go, do you have anything else? He goes, no, how did you feel? I go, I felt great. He goes, all right, you want another one? He wouldn't even say action, remember? He would just say, Jack. To Jack Green as DP, and he just do that rolling motion.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I loved Clint. It was such a great. That was my first real movie.
My first
with him.
Well, I got to tell you, I got to go back and watch that, and I loved your impersonation of him too, by the way. And that's exactly the scenario.
Yeah.
I did Neil McDonough and I did a big.
Love Neil. He was on here.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I love Neil.
Neil.
I love his love of Catholicism as well.
Oh yeah.
And he's got a beautiful family. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. We were doing the outline, the parameters of the invasion of Iwo Jima on the USS Merchant Marine ship that's down there in the Long Beach. I can't remember the name of the fucking boat. Anyway, and they literally took it out and sailed it around to Catalina. We were out in the Pacific Ocean, sailing around a boat with a bunch of extras, and it was a lot of dialogue. And I had just done a lot of dialogue for David Mamet the day before on my TV show, The Unit. So I was like double duty with 2 monologues. And I was a little concerned that, fuck, man.
Can you do this?
Well, some of the other stuff was bleeding into some of the other stuff. And I was starting to get confused because there was some numbers and there was some, I got a blackboard where they were going to shoot the scene, and I'm kind of like referencing, and I'm kind of running the lines and there's, there's all these extras and reasons. Fuck, dude. That was probably the most anxious I've ever been.
But I bet you he relaxed you.
Well, I was doing it, the Alexander techniques and breathing and, breathe with your asshole. And, you got to kind of breathe through your feet and you got to squeeze your butt cheeks.
I'm doing it now.
You got to think of you got to do all that shit. You really do.
Yeah.
And you're sucking it in and you're kind of going, oh, fuck.
And it's exhausting. You're exhausted by the end of those days. Yeah. When you're nervous or when you're going through all that stuff, the exhaustion just piles up.
Piles on.
Oh, man, it's the worst.
Piles on. And these young actors like Paul Walker and all these guys are looking at you like, yeah, these guys are the fucking vets, man. They know what the fuck they're doing.
And you're like, yeah, well.
And I did go up the second take. But anyway, the first take we got to was flawless and they applauded. And it was 2 cameras far back. And then Clint moved him up. And then he did come up to it. And finally, now he's walking. I've never really met him. And he says to me and Neil, he goes, yeah, I've never really been able to do those monologues like that. I really admire you guys for...
Wow.
That's not easy. You did a nice job. It was that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
It was really, really cool. It was self-deprecating, and I admire you for that. And then